Day 16 brought me to Fromista, a town along the Camino de Santiago that was best described as towny. While there are some important churches and infrastructure here, the people didn't really seem that friendly to pilgrims, even though their economy largely depended on them. The town centerpiece is the Iglesia de San Pedro de Fromista, which, while a big building on the outside, wasn't incredibly impressive on the inside. It's certainly not as cold here in Fromista as it is in Castro Jerez, but it is a lot more windy. The Iglesia de San Martin de Fromista, however, was a different story. The outside was relatively small, but it was kind of beautiful architecture. It reminded me a lot of the concept drawing of the Cathedral of St. John in Seljuk, Turkey. Inside there were a ton of reliefs of scenes from the Bible, engravings of plants, animals, scenes from history. Some estimates say that there are over 300 of these reliefs carved into the rock. Unfortunately, they were really hard to pick up on camera, so I didn't get any. At the outskirts of town were the canals that controlled the river flow through and around the area. On their way into town, pilgrims have to cross over the canals in order to continue along the Camino de Santiago. These canals are not unique to Fromista, however, and they exist all over the autonomous community of Castilla and Leon. I have to admit, seeing all these pilgrims walk by is very deflating, especially knowing that I couldn't finish because of my knee, which right now is hurting a bit from walking around town, but c'est la vie. Up the road, though away from the Camino de Santiago, is the Ermita del Otero. This ermita was built in the 1200s as a place of refuge and solitude for those reflecting on their faith. You can read online and see pictures of the chapel and its naves, but you can't go in here in person. Still, it's a beautiful place to go and reflect on life, even have a picnic, away from the Camino de Santiago and the pilgrims that are along it.